My son called me and said, "I'm getting married tomorrow. I took all the money from your bank accounts and sold the house. Goodbye." I laughed out loud. He had no idea that the house he sold was not what he thought it was. I am glad you are here with me. Please like this video and listen to my story until the end and tell me which city you are listening from. That way, I can see how far my story has reached. I spent 37 years building my life carefully, step by step. My name is Margaret Thornton, and at 62, I believed I had already faced everything life could bring. I lived in a modest two-bedroom home in suburban Ohio. I worked part-time at the local library and enjoyed a quiet, predictable routine. My son Derek was 34. He had always been ambitious, maybe too ambitious. The first warning sign appeared 3 months before everything collapsed. Derek called and asked for my bank account numbers. He said, "Mom, I want to help you set up automatic bill payments. You are getting older, and I do not want you to miss anything important." His voice was calm and reassuring. I hesitated, but he was my son, my only child. His father had died when Derek was 12. I raised him alone, working 2 jobs and giving up everything for him. I believed I could trust him. The second sign came 6 weeks later. Derek visited with his fiancée, Brittany. She was 26. She was attractive, but in a way that made me uncomfortable. They sat in my living room, and Brittany looked around at everything. She examined the furniture, the paintings, and the vintage clock on the mantel. She said, "This house must be worth a lot now, Margaret. Real estate here has gone up so much." She did not call me Mom or Mrs. Thornton. I replied calmly, "This is my home. I am not selling it." Derek laughed and held her hand. He said, "Of course not, Mom. Brittany is just talking." But something in his eyes made me uneasy. Then I saw the bank statements. Every Sunday morning, I checked my accounts online while drinking coffee. One Sunday in late October, my heart stopped. My savings account, which held $127,000 from decades of careful saving, my husband's life insurance, and years of personal sacrifice, now showed $1,200. My checking account had only $53. My hands shook as I called the bank. The representative, a young woman named Ashley, reviewed the transactions. She said, "Mrs. Thornton, these withdrawals were approved through your online banking. The transfers went to an account owned by Derek Thornton. Is that your son?" I could not speak. I ended the call. I sat in my kitchen for 3 hours staring at the wall. I could not understand how he could do this. I had given him everything. I had sacrificed my youth, my chances, and my relationships. This was how he repaid me. The next morning my phone rang. It was Derek. I almost did not answer, but I picked up. He sounded cheerful and excited. He said, "Mom, great news. I am getting married tomorrow. Brittany and I decided not to wait. The ceremony is at the Riverside Country Club." My throat tightened. I said, "Derek, my bank accounts." He laughed. He actually laughed. He said, "Yes, Mom, I took the money. I needed it for the wedding and our new life. You will be fine with your Social Security." Then he added, "I sold the house. I had power of attorney from the documents you signed last year. The closing was yesterday. You have 30 days to leave." I said, "You sold my house?" He replied, "I got $340,000. We are using it for a condo down payment. I have to go. The caterers are calling. We will talk after the honeymoon." Then he hung up. I sat there holding the phone, feeling completely betrayed. Then something else appeared inside me. It was not anger. I started laughing quietly, then louder, until tears ran down my face. Derek had no idea what he had done. The house he sold was not my primary home. It was a rental property I bought 15 years earlier. It was registered in my name for tax reasons and was occupied by tenants with a lease lasting another 18 months. My real home, worth nearly $600,000 and fully paid off, was held in a trust under my late mother-in-law's estate. Derek did not even know it existed. The laughter faded, replaced by calm resolve. I sat at my real kitchen table and thought clearly. The rental property Derek sold would create serious legal problems. The buyers would discover tenants with a valid lease. The Hendersons had lived there for 3 years and had 16 months left. Derek could face lawsuits and criminal charges. I had never signed a power of attorney. Any document he used was false. The stolen savings hurt the most. That $127,000 was my safety and future medical security. My own son took it to avoid responsibility for me later. But Derek did not realize one thing. I was not helpless. I had worked in legal offices for years before becoming a librarian. I understood contracts, property law, and fraud. I kept detailed records. I opened my filing cabinet and reviewed everything. The rental property documents were complete. The Hendersons' lease and my deed were intact. My real home was held in the Robert Thornton Family Trust, created 20 years ago. I was the trustee and beneficiary. Derek never understood the legal setup. I made coffee and wrote a list: report the theft, contact the bank fraud department, hire a lawyer, protect the tenants, gather evidence. Then I stopped. Did I want my son in prison? I remembered his voice saying I would be fine with Social Security. That settled it. A text came from my neighbor Patricia, a retired paralegal. She asked about the for sale sign on Oak Street. I asked her to meet for coffee. I would need support. That night, I barely slept. By morning, I had decided I would document everything and give Derek one choice: return everything and take responsibility, or face the full consequences. At 9, I called the bank and said, I need to report fraud and theft from my accounts, and I need a complete record of all transactions from the past 6 months, I said. Of course, Mrs. Thornton. I am very sorry this happened. We will begin an investigation immediately. Next, I called Martin Green, an attorney who attended my book club. Martin, I need your help. My son has stolen my savings and fraudulently sold a property I own. I need legal representation, and I need this to remain confidential until I decide how to proceed. There was a pause. Margaret, this is serious. How much money are we talking about? $127,000 in stolen cash and approximately $340,000 from a fraudulent property sale. Jesus, yes, I will help you. Come to my office this afternoon. I ended the call and looked at myself in the hallway mirror. My silver hair was tidy, my blue eyes were calm and focused. I looked like a harmless grandmother. Derek had forgotten that grandmothers could also fight back when necessary. My son was getting married the next day. Fine. Let him enjoy his wedding. Let him believe he had won. I would wait, prepare, and then show him what happens when you betray the woman who gave you everything. Martin Green's office was in a quiet brick building downtown. I sat across from him at his desk, my documents laid out neatly. He reviewed each page carefully, making notes as he went. Finally, he removed his glasses. Margaret, this is worse than I expected. Your son forged documents to sell property he did not own. This is not only civil fraud, this is criminal. He could face 5 to 10 years in prison. I understand, I said, but I need to know all my options before I decide what to do. Martin nodded. That is wise. First, you file a fraud report with your bank to stop further transactions. Second, we notify the title company that the sale was fraudulent. Third, we file a police report. You can request an investigation before charges are filed, which gives you some control over timing. What about the buyers? I asked. They will likely sue Derek once they discover the tenants. They may also sue the title company. Either way, Derek will be responsible for the full $340,000 plus damages. Martin leaned back. Margaret, I have to ask, are you sure you want to do this? He is your son. I looked directly at him. He stole my life savings and tried to leave me homeless. What kind of son does that? We spent 2 hours preparing paperwork. By the time I left, fraud reports had been filed with my bank and the title company. The police report would be submitted the next morning. As I walked to my car, my phone rang. "Mom," Derek said, "why is the bank calling me about a fraud investigation? What is going on?" I took a breath and kept my voice steady. "Derek, the bank flagged the withdrawals as suspicious. That happens when large sums are moved. But I am your son. Tell them it is fine." "Is it fine, Derek? You took $127,000 without my permission." His voice hardened. "I had permission. You gave me access for emergencies." "I gave you access for emergencies, not to empty my accounts." "I did not steal it. I borrowed it. Brittany and I will pay you back later." "And the house sale?" I asked. "That was legal. I had power of attorney." "Derek, I never signed power of attorney papers." There was silence. Then he said, "Yes, you did. Last year when you had pneumonia, I brought them to the hospital." My blood went cold. I had been hospitalized for 4 days with severe pneumonia. I barely remembered that time. "I need to see those documents," I said. "Mom, stop making this difficult. Everything is legal. Please call the bank and stop the investigation. The wedding is tomorrow." "You should have thought about that before stealing from your mother." I ended the call. That evening, my neighbor Patricia came over with wine and concern. As I told her everything, her expression changed from shock to anger. "That man is a criminal," she said. "Maggie, I will help however I can." "Actually, I need help contacting the Hendersons," I said. "They deserve to know what is happening." "We called them together," Tom Henderson answered. "Mrs. Thornton, is everything all right?" I explained the situation carefully. There was a long pause. "So, your son sold the house we live in without telling anyone?" he asked. "What happens to our lease?" "Your lease is still valid," I told him. "You are protected. I just wanted you informed." "Thank you," he said. "We will help however we can." The next morning, I received an email from the title company. My hands trembled as I read it. The power of attorney document showed my signature, but the notary license was expired. The notary was also in another state during my hospitalization. The sale funds were frozen. The buyers were pursuing legal action. I forwarded the email to Martin Green with one sentence. He forged everything. This confirmed it. Derek had committed deliberate fraud. Then my phone buzzed. A message from Derek. "Mom, can you please come to the wedding tomorrow?" He wanted me there, at the wedding paid for with my stolen money. I replied, "I will be there." The wedding was expensive and cold. The Riverside Country Club was filled with white roses and crystal lights. I wore a navy blue dress. Brittany wore a gown that likely cost $10,000, my $10,000. Derek saw me and rushed over. "Mom, you came. I am so glad." "Congratulations," I said calmly. Brittany joined us, smiling sharply. "Margaret, how nice of you to come." "Derek was worried you might be upset about the money in the house," Brittany said smoothly. "But this is really for the best. You do not need such a large house anymore, and Derek and I can build our future." "How considerate," I replied politely. My voice was calm, but my eyes were not. The ceremony was short. I sat in the front row and watched my son promise love and loyalty to the woman who helped him betray his own mother. At the reception, I smiled when required, made polite conversation, sipped champagne I could not taste, and posed for photos I never wanted to see again. Then, as the cake was being cut, my phone vibrated. A message from Martin Green. "Police investigation opened. Fraud charges in progress. Proceed. I looked across the room at Derek, laughing with his friends, unaware of what was coming. Not yet, I thought. Let him enjoy this moment. It would not last. The confrontation came 3 days later. Derek and Brittany showed up at my door without warning. Derek looked furious. Brittany looked cold and calculating. "What did you do?" Derek demanded as he pushed past me into the living room. "The title company froze the house money. They say the power of attorney was forged. They are talking about criminal charges." I closed the door calmly. "That is because it was forged." "You signed those papers," he said. "I signed blank papers while sick with a fever and barely conscious. You took advantage of your hospitalized mother. You also had those papers fraudulently notarized." Brittany stepped forward. "This is ridiculous. Derek was helping you. You are old, Margaret. You cannot manage finances or property anymore. We were doing you a favor." "A favor by stealing my life savings?" I asked. "It is not stealing if you are too senile to manage it," she said sharply. "Derek is your son. Everything you own should go to him anyway. We just needed it now." I nodded slowly. "So this was your plan. Find a man with a wealthy parent, push him to steal, and build your life on her money." Derek's face turned red. "Do not talk about Brittany like that." "She does not love you," I replied calmly. "She loves what she thought you would inherit." Brittany laughed harshly. "You think you are smart? Drop the accusations or we will ruin you. We will tell everyone you have dementia. We will have you declared incompetent. We will put you in a nursing home." I felt a chill run through me. "Is that a threat?" "It is a promise," Derek said quietly. "Just tell the bank and the title company you made a mistake. Say you approved everything. Then we move on." "And if I do not?" Derek stepped closer. "Then we will destroy you in court. Years of lawsuits, legal fees. We will make sure everyone believes you are confused and unstable." For a moment I felt fear, not of their threats, but of the man my son had become. This was not the boy I raised. "Get out of my house," I said firmly. "Mom, get out now. You have 5 seconds before I call the police. 1, 2. They left. Brittany cursed loudly. Derek's face twisted with rage. When their car disappeared, I sat down, shaking. The truth was clear. The next morning I called Martin. "File the police report. Press full charges." "Are you sure?" "Yes, completely." For several days I rested. I read, worked in my garden, and had lunch with Patricia. I needed strength. The confrontation had shaken me more than I wanted to admit. But as I stood in the sunlight, watering my roses, I felt determination settle inside me. 1 week later, Derek called. His voice was softer, almost childlike. "Mom, can we talk?" "I am listening," I said. "I have been thinking. I was wrong. Brittany influenced me. Wedding stress got to me. I should never have done this." His voice broke. "I am sorry. Please let us fix this." Part of me wanted to believe him, but I had learned. "What are you proposing?" "I will return the money. All of it. We will get a loan. I will fix the house situation. Just please drop the police investigation." "You should have thought about that before committing fraud. I know. Please do not ruin my life over one mistake." "How long to repay the money?" I asked. "Maybe 6 months. A year." "You do not have that time. The investigation is active." "What do you want?" he pleaded. What I wanted was the son I thought I had raised, but that version might never have existed. "I want full repayment within 30 days, every dollar plus interest, a written confession, and accountability." "That is impossible." "Then you should not have stolen it." "You are heartless," he snapped. "I am your only child." "How could you do this to me?" I asked quietly. "Goodbye, Derek." I ended the call and shut off my phone. That afternoon, Brittany arrived alone. I watched her step out of her car, perfectly dressed in a cream-colored suit. She rang the doorbell 3 times. "Margaret," she said tightly, "we need to talk woman to woman. May I come in?" "No," I said. She blinked, clearly surprised. "I am trying to make peace here," she replied. "You can do that from the porch," I said. Her jaw tightened, but she kept her composure. "I know you think I am some gold digger who manipulated your son, but I love Derek. I truly do. I am trying to save him from disaster by convincing you to drop the charges and see reason." Her expression hardened. "Do you understand what criminal charges will do to him, to his career, to our future?" "Yes," I replied calmly. "That is exactly why they must be filed." Brittany stared at me, then laughed. It was cold and bitter. "You know what? Derek was right about you. You are a selfish old woman who cannot stand seeing her son happy. You are bitter and alone, and you want to drag him down with you." "Are you finished?" I asked. "You will regret this," she hissed. "When Derek is in prison and your relationship is destroyed forever, you will realize you chose money over your own son. You will die alone, and it will be your fault." "Goodbye, Brittany," I said. I closed the door. That evening, Patricia came over with her husband, Michael, along with 2 other couples from our book club, the Johnsons and the Reeves. They brought food, wine, and something far more valuable: support. "We heard what is happening," Patricia said, hugging me tightly. "We wanted you to know you are not alone." We sat together in my living room, and I told them everything. Not just the facts, but the pain, the betrayal, and the guilt of prosecuting my own son. They listened without judgment. "You are doing the right thing," Michael said firmly. "What Derek did was criminal. If he avoids consequences, he will do it again." Carol Johnson nodded. "My brother stole from our mother. She forgave him and did nothing. 5 years later, he stole again. Some people only learn through consequences." Their support grounded me. I was not cruel. I was not heartless. I was protecting myself from someone who had proven he could not be trusted, even if that person was my son. As they left, Patricia squeezed my hand. "Stay strong, Maggie. This is hard, but it is right." That night, I slept peacefully for the first time in weeks. It was not warm peace, it was firm, steady peace. The next morning I called Martin Green. "No deals, no compromises. Proceed with full prosecution." "Understood," he said. "For what it is worth, Margaret, you are very brave." Brave or broken, I did not know, but I knew I would not back down. They came together this time on a quiet Sunday morning. I saw them through the window, Derek and Brittany walking up my driveway. Derek carried flowers. Brittany held a bakery box, peace offerings. I nearly did not answer the door, but curiosity won. "Mom," Derek said softly. His eyes were red, as if he had been crying. "Please give us 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I let them inside. We sat in the living room, they sat on the couch. I sat across from them in my armchair. Derek placed the flowers on the table, daisies, my favorite. "Mom, we were wrong," he began. "About everything, the way we spoke to you, what we did. It was unforgivable." He leaned forward. "I have not slept in weeks. I keep thinking about how I hurt you. You raised me alone. You gave me everything. I betrayed you." The words were exactly right. Too right. Brittany spoke next, her voice subdued. "Margaret, I owe you an apology. I said cruel things. I was scared. My parents are poor. I grew up with nothing. When I met Derek, I pushed too hard." "You convinced him," I said quietly. "Yes," she admitted. "It was my idea. The money, the house. I told him you would not miss it." Derek reached for my hand. I did not pull away. "We want to fix this," he said. "We took out a second mortgage. We can give you $100,000 within 2 weeks. The rest will take time, but we will repay everything." "With interest," Brittany added quickly. "And the criminal charges?" I asked. Derek hesitated. "If I have a criminal record, I will lose my job. I work in finance. I will be fired. Then how can I repay you?" Brittany added, "We want children. Derek wants to give you grandchildren. He cannot do that from prison." They knew exactly where to strike. "Do you want your grandchildren visiting their father in prison?" Derek asked. "Do you want them to know their grandmother put him there?" I studied them carefully, the tears, the remorse, the rehearsed lines, and the small tells. Brittany checking her watch. Derek tightening his grip on my hand. "What happens if I say no?" I asked. The change was immediate. Derek's face hardened. Brittany crossed her arms. "Then you are choosing to destroy your son," Derek said coldly, "for money you do not even need." "It is not spite," I said. "It is justice." "Justice?" Brittany scoffed. "What about fairness? Derek is your only child. Everything you own will be his one day anyway." "We just needed it sooner," Brittany said. "That is all." "So you are saying I should have died earlier," I replied. "That would have been more convenient for you?" "Do not twist my words," Brittany snapped. "I am saying you are a vindictive old woman who cannot stand seeing your son happy with someone who is not you." Derek said nothing. He watched silently, waiting to see if this approach would succeed where kindness had failed. I stood up slowly. "Get out. Get out of my house." My voice shook with anger. "You come into my home with fake apologies and manipulation, trying to pressure me into letting you steal from me without consequences. You think I cannot see what you are doing?" Derek stood as well, his face red with anger. "You are going to regret this. When I am sitting in a prison cell, when Brittany leaves me because I cannot provide for her, when you are alone every holiday for the rest of your life, remember that you chose this." "I did not choose this," I said calmly. "You did, the day you stole from your mother." Brittany grabbed Derek's arm. "Let us go. She is not worth it. Let her sit alone in this house with her precious money." They stormed out, slamming the door behind them. I stood in my living room shaking, not from fear, from rage. They had tried everything: apologies, manipulation, guilt, threats. They even used grandchildren as leverage, as if I would trade my dignity for imaginary babies. Underneath the anger, a small thread of fear surfaced. What if Derek was right? What if I was destroying him? What if years from now I regretted this? No, I forced those thoughts away. I had seen the truth. They were not sorry for what they had done. They were sorry they had been exposed. I picked up the daisies Derek had brought and threw them into the trash. Then I called Martin Green. They tried again. They offered partial repayment if I dropped the charges. "What did you tell them?" he asked. "I told them to leave my house." There was a pause, then a quiet laugh. "Good. That took real strength." Strength. Was that what this was? Or stubbornness? Pride? I did not know. But I knew I could not stop now. Not after seeing who they truly were. That night, I lay awake, Derek's words repeating in my mind. "You will regret this." Maybe I would, but I would regret betraying myself far more. The court date came 6 weeks later. Martin prepared me carefully. He explained the process, the questions, and the possibility of a plea deal. Derek refused. He insisted on going to trial, convinced a jury would side with a son against what he believed was a bitter mother. I wore a simple gray suit and light makeup. Martin told me to look calm and confident. "You are not a victim," he said. "You are a survivor." The courthouse was cold and bright. I sat behind the prosecution table, hands folded. Derek sat across the aisle with Brittany and his attorney, Richard Chen, a white-collar defense lawyer. When Derek looked at me, I saw fear in his eyes, real fear. The prosecutor, Andrea Walsh, presented a strong case. Bank records showed unauthorized transfers. The title company testified about the forged power of attorney. Experts explained the fraudulent notarization. The Hendersons testified about the illegal sale of the rental property. Derek's defense strategy became clear. Portray me as confused, resentful, and unreliable. Richard Chen addressed the jury. This is a family disagreement. Mrs. Thornton gave her son access to her accounts because she needed help. Derek acted with her approval. Now, influenced by others and struggling with age-related confusion, she regrets her decision. I stayed calm. Witness after witness confirmed the truth. The bank representative described my distress when I discovered the theft. The handwriting expert explained that the signature on the power of attorney was inconsistent with my normal signature and showed signs of illness or pressure. Then it was my turn. I testified clearly. I explained raising Derek alone. I explained my shock and devastation. "Did you authorize Derek to withdraw $127,000? Andrea asked. "No, never." "Did you authorize him to sell your rental property?" "No, that property provides retirement income." "Did you knowingly sign power of attorney papers?" "No, I was hospitalized with severe pneumonia. My fever reached 104 degrees. I was barely aware." Richard Chen questioned me aggressively, but I remained steady. "You resent Derek's marriage, do you not?" "No, I resent being robbed." "You are lonely." "I am independent and content." Then Derek took the stand. At first he sounded convincing, concerned, caring, helpful. Then Andrea began questioning him. "You claim your mother asked you to manage her finances. Do you have proof?" "No." "The notary on the power of attorney was in California. The hospital was in Ohio. How did that happen?" Derek froze. Andrea continued. "Did you inform the buyers that the house had tenants with an active lease?" Derek stumbled, contradicted himself. His story collapsed. Andrea delivered the final blow. "You forged documents, stole $127,000, and sold property you did not own to fund your wedding. Is that correct?" "No," Derek said desperately. "I was helping my mother. She wanted... He stopped. "She wanted to be robbed. She wanted to be homeless." The courtroom went silent. "Objection," Chen said quickly, standing. "Argumentative." "Sustained," the judge replied. But the damage was already done. The jury had seen Derek panic. They had seen him contradict himself. They had seen the truth. When closing arguments ended, I felt an unexpected calm. Not because the trial was finished, but because my part in the ordeal was complete. I had told the truth. I had presented evidence. I had refused to be intimidated or manipulated. Whatever happened next was no longer in my control. We stood as the jury left to deliberate. Derek turned toward me one final time. His face looked empty and defeated. I met his eyes without flinching. This was my son, and this was the result of his choices. The jury deliberated for 3 hours. When they returned, their expressions were serious and certain. "On the charge of grand theft, how do you find the defendant?" "Guilty." "On the charge of fraud?" "Guilty." "On the charge of forgery?" "Guilty." Derek's face collapsed. Brittany cried out softly. I sat motionless as the words echoed through the courtroom. "Guilty, guilty, guilty." The judge scheduled sentencing for 2 weeks later. Derek was released on bail, but reality had arrived. Prison was no longer a possibility. It was a certainty. Outside the courthouse, reporters waited. Martin had warned me. "Mrs. Thornton, how do you feel about the verdict?" one asked. I paused, then answered clearly. "Justice was served. What my son did was criminal. He betrayed the person who loved him most, and he must face the consequences. Do you have a message for other families facing elder financial abuse?" "Yes," I said. You are not required to protect people who harm you, even when they are family, especially when they are family. Martin guided me away. The sentencing hearing was painful to witness. Judge Margaret Hendress listened carefully as victims spoke. The Hendersons described the fear of losing their home. The Byers explained the financial damage Derek caused. I spoke about the betrayal and loss of trust. Then Derek addressed the court. His voice shook. His tears looked real. Your Honor, I betrayed my mother. I allowed greed to destroy our relationship. I accept responsibility. I ask only for mercy and the chance to rebuild my life. Judge Hendress studied him carefully. You did not make a single mistake, she said. You made calculated decisions. You forged documents. You exploited your mother's illness. You committed fraud against multiple people. You showed no remorse until you were caught. You threatened your mother when she sought justice. She paused. You deserve no leniency. She sentenced Derek to 7 years in prison, with possible parole after 4, plus full restitution and court costs. The total exceeded $200,000. Derek broke down. Brittany sat frozen. As the bailiff led Derek away in handcuffs, he looked at me one last time. I met his eyes but said nothing. After sentencing, Martin explained the restitution process. Derek and Brittany's assets were frozen. Their condo would be sold. Their wages would be garnished. Brittany was not criminally charged, but she was financially responsible. Over the following weeks, consequences unfolded. Derek lost his finance career. No firm would hire a felon. Brittany disappeared from social media. Friends vanished. Their condo was sold at a loss. I received the first restitution payment of $15,000. The Hendersons sent a card thanking me for protecting their family. Patricia hosted a small dinner with friends. They celebrated my resolve. Still, the victory felt hollow. I had won justice but lost my son, yet I kept my dignity, my home, my future. 6 months later, my life took a new direction. I began consulting to help older adults protect themselves from financial abuse. Patricia joined me. We held workshops and helped dozens of families. I traveled. I reconnected with friends. On my 63rd birthday, I was surrounded by people who loved me. Derek, meanwhile, served his sentence. Prison was harsh. Brittany divorced him after 8 months. His parole was denied. He would serve the full 7 years. Looking back, I understand now. I loved without boundaries and taught entitlement instead of respect. Love without respect is not love. Family without integrity is not family. My son went to prison because he chose greed over love. I did not destroy his life. He did. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone recognize warning signs, set boundaries, and remember that protecting yourself is not selfish. It is survival.